In previous video we created user widget component with a popover. Also we assembled some stuff for authorization, and now for the first time we'll try to think about general requirements for system design and think about what actually will be our first features. So let's start. So now let's talk about general requirements, and what I will do. First, actually we need to understand whether we have our basic functionality. So we want user to be able to train different programming languages, and that means that we should have many fragments for each programming language. So each lang should have many fragments. Also, user should be able to edit and add his own fragments. So this is, I think, for now, this is it about requirements. We will start from this, and also I want to add some developer nodes. That would be something that we can actually use in our development, some tips that we know that we will use. For example, to implement different programming languages, I think it's better to call it category. So it will be category model. So we will use category for aggregating fragments. So each lang would be each lang would be a category. Also, what I want to add here, that we want to share somehow our categories. So we want different users see our predefined categories. So we will use a special flag for categories, and only admin would be able to add this flag. And the last thing, we need to understand what is our fragment. So for now, it's just let's call it fragment model. So this would be our training fragment, and I think that's it for now. We will start from this short list of requirements and developer nodes. So now we can start implementing something already. And first, I want to show you what you can do with your tsconfig. Maybe for you it's not a big deal, but for me it is. When you have all these paths like ... and etc., I prefer to use paths in my TypeScript, so I will explain you how it works. So we define here base URL, and also we define here our paths. So in paths, in paths we will use like this. And now what it gives us, for example, if I remove user widget from here and import it, so you see we imported from @src, and it is very convenient, and it would be great in future when we have a large scaled application. So okay, for now let's what I wanted to add also here, don't forget to set up your pre-tier because formatting is very important. And also here, if you didn't know, you can type additional formats, additional extensions like CSS, and if I place it like this, I can also format on save my CSS files. So next thing we'll do, it's actually adding some SVG stuff. It will help us in future in this video. So let me add, one second. Let me add two icons here. Add icon and chevron it would be for our select component. So yeah, we added here. So next thing, we'll talk about actually our basic models for fragment and category. And to do this, we should open our schema.prisma, and here we'll write our models for, as I said, for fragment and category. And I will copy it because I don't want to spend your time. So model fragment would have ID, user. So this one is how we bind actually our new model to user. So let me explain to you when we add user ID and user here, we know that also user should have fragments like this. So we bound our fragment to user model. Also here we have text and name and some util properties. And also here, as you can see, we try to bind our fragment to category. So let me actually create category model also. So here in category we have the same property for ID. It's default auto increment and it's integer. Also, we have already our properties shared. It will be used to understand whether this category should be shown to any user or it's just personal category. So also we have name and fragments. So this thing, these two lines actually binds our fragment to our category. And also category is bound to our user model. So we should add here our categories like this. So next thing that we should add, it's pop-up component and select component, and I won't actually create all these components from scratch in this video. I will create additional video for this. So about pop-up we already have the video, but we don't have it about select component. So I will create it in future. For now, I will just import these components. One second, let me do that. So we'll have our select component and we'll have our pop-up component. Now let's try to add our routers. So we'll start from category router, and it will help us in future to fetch data and mutate data. So I will create file category.ts in routers folder, and I will copy paste here the code, and let me explain how it works. So first off, I don't have problems with typing here, but you can have it, and if you have, just try to restart your development server, do npm prisma db push, and also try to restart your IDE if you still have the problems. So what this file actually does, we have here two endpoints, getAll and create. So in getAll endpoint, we will actually find all our categories in Prisma database. For us it's SQLite, and we find all of this actually with user ID that our current user has. And because we have it like public procedure, we're not sure that we have a user currently. So if we don't have user, actually here we won't fetch anything. So we'll fix it later. So for now, this is about get all, and about create, this is protected procedure, and that means that we only can invoke this create endpoint if we are authorized. So here we know that we have a string property name in our input, and we also know that we already have user in our session, so we can create new category using this data with user ID from session and name from input. And that's it about category router. So now let's create a router for Fragment, and after that we'll try to check whether all of this works. So let me add actually Fragment router here. So, and also don't forget to place your routers here, like this. Let's check, maybe we have problems with typing, but no, we don't have. So here we actually have the same logic like in category, but here in input we have additional fields like category ID and text. And actually the logic is the same. So I don't think we should follow through this file. So next thing we'll do in this video, we'll create some logic related to categories. And in particular, it will be select category and add category. So let me explain what we'll create. First, in features folder, let's create new folder called category. And here we have two different features. First will be select category and create category. Oops, sorry, it should be a directory, of course. Something like this. So in select category, let me show you what we have here. In select category, we have our select component that we added previously, and how it will work actually. So first, let's check what is our problem. Yeah, the problem was that I called it select but not index, and because of that we hadn't our default imports. So now types are imported correctly, and what we have here, we know that our categories should be fetched from tRPC, and here in select component we want to render actually our categories. But let me check why. So I'm not sure why my WebStorm actually was yelling about this selected category. Seems like it is a bug, but it works okay. So what we have here, we create state for selected category, and also we create some label for the initial value. And here I also add some to do for the audience, because I want you to actually answer the question, is it okay to put ID none for initial values? It's a question. So for now, let's actually understand how it works. So we have on select, and we have some render options that will be our option in HTML, and these are our options that goes from categories which are fetched from our tRPC. So now let's try to check whether we wrote it correctly. I will also add this category to our index page. Like this. And let's start development server. And let's open it here. Okay, we have our unknown categories. let's inspect this. And what do we have here? Here we have some answers from our tRPC, and as a result we have array with 0 items. It works okay, because in fact we don't have actually real categories for now. So next thing, we want to create some categories, and for this we will use our create category feature. So here we also need pop-up for this, because I decided to implement creating stuff using pop-ups. In future we'll use these pop-ups also for fragments. So let's actually add here also file that is named create category pop-up. Okay. Yes, so I copied this from my implementation, but we don't have here some business logic related to creating categories. So let's remove it for now, and let's add just pop-up. So in pop-up we have here input for name, we have some title, and we have button. About buttons, we should have default global styling. Because of that, I created some very simple styling, and I will show you how we can add it. So here I added some styling related to scroll bars, and it is also a question for you: is it okay to rewrite the scroll bars like this? Also, we have some default text, and in components layer we have some predefined class names for the components. So here we have container, we have a text view. It will go to actually typing widget. We don't need it for now, but let's put it here for future. We have our input styling, we have main input mask. It also will be for our typing widget, and some things for buttons and pop-ups. So I don't know exactly, should I go through all the properties in Tailwind? If yes, just tell me this in comments. I will go through all of this and explain how it works, but for now I think it is unnecessary. So when we edit it here in our pop-up, we can use our default button and our default input. So let's check how it is working. So we'll add this create pop-up logic, this create pop-up to our create, we have create category pop-up, and we should somehow use it inside our create category. So here in create category, we will call this create category pop-up when we click on image. So also we have here some helper function, and I also added these helpers, and I will show you how it works. So we already have a lib inside user, and here I also added use is auth, and now we can use this hook to understand whether our user is authorized. So in create category we have our is auth, and we have state for pop-up, and also we have on close for pop-up. And we know that if we are not authorized, we just don't see this component, and it's just simple square icon to click. So let's check how it works. I will add this also here. Let's give this div align items center, and let's check how it works. So now it seems like it doesn't work because we are not signed in. Let's sign in. And now we have our pop-up Great. So what we can do now, we should actually create new category. When we type something in our form, we want to create new category instance in our database. To do this, I decided to create additional hook to encapsulate inside this hook our business logic related to creating this entity. So I called it use create category. And in this simple hook, what we do, we created mutation, which is calculated from our create endpoint in our API, in our router. So in actually where we can see this in routers, in category, we have this create endpoint and we use it inside this hook. So we have our mutation. And again, question for you, why we should await this get all endpoints here in use mutation. So when we calculated our mutation, we just return it from our hook. And now we can use it in our create category. So let me show you. Actually, we use it in our Popup, of course, because inside Popup we have our form. So here we add our hook, and this mutation we use on click. Now let's check how it works. Okay, we have some problem. Let's try to understand. So I'm not sure what exactly happened. I just restarted my development server and seems like it works okay without any fixes. So let's try to check the functionality. So we have our Popup. We'll try to add some category, for example test, and we see here that something happened and we have test here. And when we click our test, we actually set our selected category inside this select category component. Let's try to add something more, and we see here we have all of this. When we restart, we have unknown category because we haven't implemented persistent logic yet. So seems like it's working. I hope it was helpful, and our next steps will be some refactoring and proceeding with logic related to categories and fragments. Bye.